Hello and welcome to the Code Clarity podcast. I'm Jean.
And I'm Rina. So today we're just going to be talking to you about the ABPI code public consultation and what the next steps are. Some of you who came along to the conference will know that it was super successful. We have written a very short article just summarising some of the key themes and the key actions as a result of that. But Jean, what do you think the next steps are?
Yeah, well, because the good thing is the timing of conference is perfect for the consultation that's going to come along for the next code next year. So I think we can really take some of the learnings and the discussions and the debate that happened at conference and feed that into our replies to the consultation. So Rina, what would be your kind of main topic or comment on the consultation when it comes out?
I think we probably whipped the crowd up into a bit of a frenzy on certain areas, but I think for me, one of the biggest things that seemed to be, like I felt the audience were unanimous in their thinking was the subject of anonymous complainants.
Yep.
That would be that I think we had a really good discussion because the morning sessions, Aoife, she brought in all her data and her research. And our very experienced audience have got their anecdotal experience, and when you combined that was actually really powerful.
Yes.
The data and the insight, and together we could see that not only are they a big risk area, do they kind of confuse a lot of people and distract us from our actual proper work, but there's a really good solution at the end of it. And I know that Declan and I have chatted in a previous podcast, and Declan was quite vocal on the day as well about making sure that people knew that those regulations can be challenged. Paul Sims, I think in his talk, demonstrated there's lots of industries and lots of examples where we don't have to live with something that doesn't work. We can ask for it to be fixed. And I think that will be the focus of some of the comments that we're going to make in the consultation. What do you think, Jean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think what was nice about conference was that there was a lot of really positive solutions to it. So it wasn't just saying we don't like this or this needs to change. There was actually lots of solutions. And I know during Alex's session, when this same topic of anonymous complaints came up, members of the audience were able to offer really positive solutions to kind of counter maybe some of his reservations about GDPR and all of that things, and people providing wrong email addresses, and that there are solutions possible to counter them, which I thought was really nice. And then the other thing that I thought was good that came out of the audience discussion was the kind of the ability of the PMCPA to triage the inquiry, the complaints, and the case manager's role on really looking at it and saying, is there a body of evidence here that, or if there's not, that ability, and this links back to the anonymous complaint, that ability to go back to the complainant and say, I'm sorry, I don't understand what you meant by that. Can you clarify that? Or you've quoted this clause, but that doesn't appear to be relevant. Did you really mean that? And that would just save so much time for everyone and be able to then better scrutiny of what the activities actually were, rather than the wrong clauses being mentioned or whatever as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know certain audience members were really passionate about this subject, just making sure that we as an industry can hold the case preparation manager to account, right? And to be able to expect more and do a better job, because the code is based on an evidentiary threshold and the burden of proof is on the complainant. And yet sometimes it feels like anyone can lob anything out there, and then we will run around like headless chickens in 10 days trying to find the evidence, but that's not really for us to do under the Constitution. I think it's interesting also that the Constitution has always allowed scrutiny of material by the PMCPA. And I remember when I mentioned what Medicines Australia do, they have like a monitoring committee.
Yes.
And I think it's probably also worth mentioning in the comments, right, that let's learn from best practices in other countries, and let's see, because I can think that could only ever benefit us in the UK.
Yeah. So I know, like Aoife's point, which I think sort of resonated with a lot of people, was, no complaints doesn't mean that you're compliant. Because it's a very kind of reactive, responsive system that we've got at the moment. And actually, if the PMCPA changed, you know, to a more proactive approach, similar to what the MHRA does when they are monitoring, you know, companies. So that proactive audit and that proactive scrutiny, that can only be a positive to raise the standards if we can see that those audits are of benefit to the company, and which means that it's then of benefit to patients and healthcare professionals as well.
Absolutely. And then our analysis showed that it's the more visible, in other words, digital materials that are attracting the most complaints, which is rightly so. So it therefore follows, doesn't it, that if there was proactive scrutiny of, let's say, for example, just websites, if the PMCPA were to put their function together that just scrutinise the biggest risk for pharma companies, that's, you know, that could reduce risk massively for companies just straight away. So it's a no-brainer.
And I think one last, I mean, there's so many points, and I'm already sort of going, oh, just one point. But the one I'll try and finish on is that point on when the PMCPA have provided guidance, it reduces complaints and it reduces breaches. So I thought that was really interesting when Alex said that, you know, the whole issue of social media, which provided us with lots and lots of lovely juicy cases and lots of clause 2s and all the rest of it. But actually then when they published their social media guidance and trained that out, not only did the complaints on this area reduce because everyone was clear what should and shouldn't be done, but it also reduced the number of breaches because, again, people were clear on it. So it's that providing of the clarity by that proactive provision of information and guidance rather than the reactive waiting for the complaint, waiting for something to go wrong, I think is a really strong point.
And to be honest with you, I think it's a bit of a lazy one, you know, because I think that allows them to say, oh, well, we'll develop a position when we get a complaint. And when they get a complaint, the position only relates to that case. And it doesn't, again, we don't hold them to account. We can't say to them, but we want position from you, for example, on AI. Well, they won't give it. They'll only give it in this one case, but that's not good enough for us. So I think my top tip for sort of finishing off is to remind companies that the consultation will be about, let's say, you know, 8 or 9 things, but we are not, you know, just limited to commenting on those. So you and I, Jean, are going to sit down, we're going to put together our expert commentary based on our years of insight and experience, and we will be commenting on everything because that is what the consultation allows. We can comment on the Constitution, the complaints process, and the code.
Yeah, perfect. So yeah, I think that's going to take us to the end of the year to put that together. So that'll be our little Christmas activity. But yes, so happy Christmas.
Happy Christmas.
Bye.
Bye.